Kai had always considered himself reasonably competent, until today. Now, sprawled face-first in crystalline grass outside the Moon Petal Palace, he reconsidered that assessment. Just retrieve the Starlight Herb, his guild master had said. Easy mission for a bronze-rank adventurer. Nobody mentioned the palace belonged to Yuki, the legendary Fox Queen. Kai had successfully avoided the palace guards, fox spirits in elaborate armor, by clinging to garden walls and diving behind luminous hedges. His stealth was perfect until he rounded a marble fountain and collided with something soft yet unmovable. He stumbled backward, arms windmilling. His hand connected with something firm and rounded beneath silk fabric. The distinctive smack echoed through the courtyard. Time froze. Kai's eyes traveled upward past elegant crimson robes to meet the gaze of the most beautiful, and currently most shocked, woman he'd ever seen. 9 silvery fox tails fanned behind her, shimmering with ethereal light. Her amber eyes widened, fox ears twitching atop silver hair that cascaded past her shoulders. I'm so sorry. Kai stammered, face burning. I didn't mean, it was an accident. Guards. Yuki's voice rang with authority and barely suppressed amusement. Seize my fiancé before he flees. You're what? Within seconds, Kai found himself surrounded by snickering fox guards. One leaned close, whiskers twitching. Bold move, human. That's the tail touch vow. You're engaged now. That's not, I just fell. Yuki descended the palace steps, her tail swaying hypnotically. Up close, she was devastating, sharp cheekbones, full lips curved in a mischievous smile, and those eyes that seemed to see straight through his panic into something deeper. The tail touch vow is sacred among our kind, she purred, circling him like prey. To deliberately touch a fox spirit's blessed region is to declare matrimonial intent. But it was an accident. Intent matters not. Only the action. She stopped inches from him, and Kai caught her scent, jasmine and wild moonflowers. However, I am not unreasonable. Prove yourself unworthy, and I shall release you from this bond. Hope flared in Kai's chest. How? Her smile turned wicked. 3 trials. Pass them and you're free. Fail. She traced one clawed finger along his jawline, sending electricity down his spine. And you'll become my husband. We'll share my chambers, my bed, my throne, everything. Kai swallowed hard. The way she looked at him, like he was both amusing and somehow appetizing, made thinking difficult. What if I just leave? Then my hunters pursue you to the realm's edge. She leaned close, lips brushing his ear. And when they bring you back, there will be no trials. Only the wedding night. Her breath was warm against his neck, and despite everything, Kai felt his pulse quicken for reasons that had nothing to do with fear. Fine, he managed. The trials? When do we start? Yuki's laugh was pure silk and danger. Oh, my clumsy hero. We begin tonight. The palace's grand ballroom glittered with enchanted lanterns, casting everything in warm amber light. Kai stood at one end, acutely aware of the dozens of fox spirits filling the galleries above, all watching with hungry interest. Yuki emerged from behind a silk screen, and Kai's breath caught. She wore a flowing dress of midnight blue that clung to every curve before cascading to the floor in layers of gossamer fabric. Her tails were adorned with silver jewelry that chimed softly with each movement. But it was her expression, confident, predatory, yet somehow inviting, that made his mouth go dry. The first trial, she announced, voice carrying through the hall. The dance of binding souls. Keep pace with me until the final note and you pass. Her smile sharpened. Lose the rhythm and you lose the trial. I'm not much of a dancer, Kai admitted. Then I'll lead. She glided toward him, hips swaying. Try to keep up, husband-to-be. The music began, a haunting melody of flutes and strings. Yuki's hand found his, her touch sending warmth up his arm. Her other hand rested on his shoulder as she pressed close, her body fitting against his with unnerving perfection. Relax, she whispered, breath ghosting across his lips. I won't bite. Unless you ask nicely. They moved, and somehow Kai's feet found the rhythm. Yuki guided him through spins and steps that should have been impossible, but her presence made it effortless. She was intoxicating this close, the scent of her, the warmth radiating through thin fabric, the way her tails occasionally brushed against his legs. "You're trembling," she noted, amusement dancing in her amber eyes. "You're doing that on purpose." "Doing what?" Pure innocence, even as she dipped backward, trusting him to hold her. The position displayed her elegant throat, the curve of her breasts rising with each breath. Kai pulled her back up, perhaps a bit too quickly, a bit too close. Her eyes widened slightly, and for a moment he saw genuine surprise there. "Careful," she murmured. "I might think you're enjoying this." "Maybe I am." The words escaped before he could stop them. Yuki's expression shifted, the playfulness giving way to something more intense, more real. The music swelled, demanding faster movements, closer contact. Her tails wrapped around his waist, pulling him impossibly nearer as they spun. "Why did you really come here?" she asked, serious now despite their intimate position. "The starlight herb. My sister is sick, it's the only cure." Something softened in Yuki's gaze. Her hand moved from his shoulder to cup his cheek. "That's why you risked the palace? For family?" "Of course." The music reached its crescendo. Yuki pulled him into a final spin that ended with their faces inches apart, both breathing hard, her body pressed along the length of his. "You pass," she whispered. Then, barely audible, "Interesting." The watching crowd erupted in applause, but Kai couldn't look away from the fox queen's eyes, now seeing him as something more than amusing prey. The second trial took place in Yuki's private garden, where moonflowers bloomed under actual moonlight gathered by enchantment. She'd changed into a simpler robe, white silk that somehow seemed more intimate than the ballroom gown. 3 riddles, she explained, settling onto a cushioned bench near a koi pond. She patted the space beside her. "Sit. I promise I don't bite for at least 2 riddles." Kai sat, maintaining careful distance. "What happens if I fail?" "Then I keep you." She tucked her legs beneath her, tails arranging themselves gracefully. "Not as husband, not yet. But as my personal attendant. Sleeping in my chambers, always within reach." Her smile was wicked. "I'm told I toss and turn at night. I'd need someone to keep me warm." Heat crept up Kai's neck. "The riddles. First, I am taken from a mine, shut up in a wooden case, and used by many, yet never seen. What am I?" Kai thought carefully, aware of Yuki watching him with unnerving intensity. "Pencil lead. Graphite. Clever boy." She shifted closer, her shoulder now touching his. "Second, I can be cracked, made, told, and played. What am I?" "A joke. 2 for 2. Her hand found his, fingers intertwining. When he glanced at her questioningly, she shrugged. "You seem tense." "I'm helping." "By holding my hand?" "Among other things." Her thumb traced circles on his palm. "Final riddle. What becomes more precious the more you give it away, yet costs nothing to share?" Kai stared at their joined hands, then up at Yuki's face, beautiful in the moonlight, yes, but also open in a way it hadn't been before. "Vulnerable." "Love," he said quietly. Yuki's breath caught. For a long moment, she just looked at him. Then, "You pass." "But Kai." She didn't release his hand. "Why do you seem disappointed?" "I'm not." "Don't lie to a fox spirit." She turned to face him fully, bringing her other hand up to his cheek. "We smell deception. But we also smell desire. Yuki, you should want to leave. To return to your life, your sister, freedom." Her golden eyes searched his. "Instead, your heart races every time I'm near." "Why?" Kai knew he should deflect, keep emotional distance. Instead, he found himself being honest. "Because you're extraordinary. Because every moment with you is alive in a way nothing else has been. Because..." He took a breath. "Because I'm starting to think falling into you wasn't an accident at all." Yuki's eyes widened. Then she leaned in, her lips barely brushing his in a kiss that was more question than answer, soft, exploratory, laced with magic that made every nerve sing. When she pulled back, she whispered, "One trial remains. But Kai? I'm no longer certain I want you to pass." "Why not?" Her smile was sad and beautiful. "Because I'm falling too. And queens shouldn't fall for accidental fiancés." The final trial's entrance yawned before them, a maze of living hedges that shifted and whispered. Yuki stood beside Kai, unusually quiet. "The labyrinth of truth," she finally said. "It shows your deepest desire. Reach the center and you're free." She turned to him, and her expression made his chest ache. "I won't follow. This you face alone." "Yuki." She pressed a finger to his lips. "No. If you're to be free, it must be your choice entirely." Her tails drooped slightly. "Go. Before I do something foolish like beg you to stay." Kai entered the maze. The hedges closed behind him immediately. He walked through shifting passages that whispered in voices he almost recognized. "Left turn. Dead end. Backtrack." Then the whispers became words. "Your sister needs you. Go home. Forget the Fox Queen." He pushed forward. The passage opened into a vision. His village, his sister healthy and laughing, his old life waiting. Simple. Alone. "This is what you want," the labyrinth whispered. "Freedom. Normalcy." Kai stared at the vision. His sister did need him. This had all been madness. Accidental engagement to a mystical queen who was dangerous and powerful and so far beyond him. But then he remembered Yuki's laugh during their dance. The way she'd softened when he mentioned his sister. Her vulnerability in the moonlight. The kiss that had felt like coming home. "No," he said firmly. "Show me the truth. My real deepest desire." The vision shattered. The labyrinth reconfigured, and suddenly Kai stood in a familiar bedchamber, Yuki's private quarters, which he'd glimpsed in passing. But this vision showed more. Yuki sleeping peacefully, silver hair spread across pillows, her tails curled around a figure beside her. The vision expanded, morning light, Yuki's sleepy smile, tangled limbs and whispered words. Her laugh over breakfast. Planning together, ruling together. Growing old together across centuries, because bonding with a fox spirit meant sharing her immortality. "This is what you want," the labyrinth whispered, gentle now. Forever." "Yes," Kai breathed. The maze dissolved entirely, depositing him at its center. But instead of an exit, he found Yuki standing there, tears streaming down her face. "You weren't supposed to, I didn't follow, I swear, but the labyrinth," she gasped. "It showed me your vision. Your true desire." Kai crossed to her in 3 strides, cupping her face. "Then you know. I choose you, Yuki. Not because of an accidental vow or trials. Because I want this. Want us. But your sister can be cured with starlight herb you'll give me because you're generous beneath the mischief." He smiled. "And I can visit her. I'll have centuries after all." Yuki's laugh was half-sob. "You're supposed to want freedom." "I am free." He kissed her, deep and certain. "Free to choose you." Her tails wrapped around them both, pulling him close. "Then I accept. Truly. Not as a trial, but as husband." "Yes, you impossible, clumsy, perfect man. Yes." The ceremony had been beautiful, fox spirits celebrating as Kai and Yuki exchanged vows beneath the ancient cherry tree in the palace courtyard. But now, as they entered Yuki's chambers, the reality of what came next hit Kai with full force. Yuki closed the door softly, then turned to face him. Her wedding robes, pure white silk embroidered with silver foxes, somehow made her look both regal and vulnerable. "Nervous?" she asked, though her own hands trembled slightly. "Terrified," he admitted. I've ruled for 3 centuries. Commanded armies. Bent reality to my will." She stepped closer. "And right now, I'm shaking because my husband is looking at me like I'm precious." "You are precious." Yuki's breath caught. She reached up, slowly removing the ornate pins from her hair. Silver cascaded down, and Kai's hands moved to help, his fingers gentle as they worked through the elaborate styling. "I've never done this," she whispered. "Shared myself completely. Been vulnerable." "Me neither." He finished with her hair, let his hands rest on her shoulders. We'll figure it out together. She looked up at him, eyes bright with unshed tears and something deeper, trust, desire, love. Together, she echoed. The kiss started soft, exploratory, but deepened as weeks of tension finally broke. Yuki's hands fisted in his ceremonial robe, pulling him closer. Kai wrapped his arms around her waist, feeling her tails wind around them both in an intimate cocoon. They moved to the bed, a tangle of silk robes and whispered endearments. Kai's hands trembled as he helped her with fastenings, revealing skin that seemed to glow in the lantern light. She was breathtaking, every curve, every line perfect and real in his. Beautiful, he murmured, tracing her collarbone, the dip of her waist, the flare of her hip. Yuki's hands were equally reverent, exploring the planes of his chest, the strength in his arms. Mine, she whispered fiercely. My husband. My love. They came together slowly, learning each other's rhythms and responses. Yuki's fox magic sparkled across their skin where they touched, heightening every sensation. Her tails caressed him, soft as silk and warm as summer. When they finally joined, she gasped his name like a prayer, and Kai felt the magical bond snap into place, souls entwining as thoroughly as their bodies. They moved together, building towards something transcendent. Yuki arched beneath him, crying out as pleasure crested. Kai followed moments later, Yuki's name on his lips as starbursts exploded behind his eyes. Afterward, they lay tangled together, hearts gradually slowing. Yuki's head rested on Kai's chest, her tails wrapped protectively around them both. Worth failing all 3 trials? She murmured sleepily. Kai pressed a kiss to her hair. I didn't fail. I passed the only test that mattered, choosing you. Smooth talker. But she smiled, burrowing closer. Stay with me. Forever. Forever, he promised, and meant it with his entire soul. Outside, the moon shone bright over the Moon Petal Palace, blessing the Fox Queen and her wonderfully clumsy husband as they began their eternal adventure together.